exposition. And
exposition is the word you're looking for.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
There's one big question in our book that I think we might not actually need to find an answer to.
Oh.
Yeah, so this video is something that I have thought through, and everything that I'm about to say is new to you.
I have no idea. We didn't even put together a bullet list of even how we're starting. I am absolutely clueless.
So that was very genuine. So this is going to be a spoiler video. We're going to get a little bit into some of the details of our plot. Who knows how much of those details will actually be in the book, because as I said, questions that may not need answers. But as a introduction to what this question is, in timeline A of our novel, there is some sort of nuclear disaster that one of the characters not prevents, but kind of fixes things after the fact. And this vaults him into being the CAB director, a director of a science agency. And that's something that is useful later on in the book.
CAB, Knowledge Acceleration Board.
Acceleration Board, yes. KAB.
Define your acronyms.
Yes. So one of our open questions is, what exactly did this disaster look like? How did this guy go about fixing it? And how did his fixing of it vault him into this role as the director of the Knowledge Acceleration Board? You look confused.
We don't have to answer that, huh? Or is that the question that we don't have to answer?
That's what I'm suggesting.
Oh, okay.
And so I have two reasons for that, and I'm interested to hear your feedback, whether or not you agree. And so the two reasons, one of them is actually something that you mentioned in the past about leaving certain questions unanswered can actually enhance the publishability of a novel, because you're leaving yourself open to writing a prequel or a secondary novel that goes back and answers that question, as long as it's not a major question that you leave unanswered. And I'm not sure yet if this is a major question. I think because it doesn't take place in our storytelling timeline and it would have to be told back as history, I don't know if we need to go into all the details about how that actually happened.
Okay, maybe I'm confusing which event you're talking about now. And I wish
this is timeline A.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I think you said timeline A, and I was picturing the one at the top. And now I'm, as we're talking, I'm saying things that now mean I'm gonna have to edit by putting graphics on the screen. Okay, timeline A. That's the one at the bottom.
First one, all the way at the bottom.
Okay, now
original timeline of history.
Now that I'm in context, can you say what you said again?
Sure. Starting, I guess I'll start at the beginning there. There's the disaster. There's a nuclear disaster that happens that is not prevented, but later on is fixed somewhat, or cleaned up, I guess would be a better word for it, by this guy who becomes the director of the Knowledge Acceleration Board.
Oh, that.
Yes.
Okay.
Disaster 1, timeline A, very beginning of things there.
Got it. It's the aftermath that you're saying that we don't need to explain, even though that aftermath, the recovery of it is what leads to. Okay.
I think we can get away with saying there was a nuclear disaster. I helped not fix things, but I helped clean things up and create an environment so that way something like this wouldn't happen again.
Okay.
I think that's sufficient. I don't think we need to go into all the details about what that is. We did have an open question box in our in Confluence that says something about we need to clarify this history, figure out exactly what everything is, and I'm not sure that we need to do that. And even if we do want to do it, I don't think we need to go into all the details in our book. And that gets to the second reason, which is actually something that relates to a video that we watched last night that was talking about different things that make books bad. I don't remember exactly how he said it, but it was things.
We watch a lot of those videos now,
right? And we'll leave a link to that video. But one of the things that he talked about was world building vertigo, and that is where you spend so much time giving the history, the background, the world building that you lose the plot. And you're just so focused on all the nitty gritty details that you get out of it like, now where was I in the book?
Right.
And so we don't want to do that. And I think this is an example of a question that we can answer a little bit, but all the details we can leave unanswered, because if we do answer them, it's just going to be a lot of what's the word that I'm looking for? Exposition. And
exposition is the word you're looking for.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And
I'm here for you.
Yeah. and all that exposition can take you out of the story. And so I think that question there of what was this initial disaster, the very first timeline, what were the impacts it had, how did it vault this guy into his position of leadership? I think that's a question that we can, for the most part, leave unanswered.
I think I agree. Now that I know now that I've pictured correctly where timeline A is and which one you're talking about, I agree. And even some of the reasons that one may want to elaborate in private is to avoid plot holes or inconsistencies. And I don't think there's a danger there of creating plot holes or inconsistencies, because we're not talking about that area anywhere else.
Right. And so we can have very little information. And if we decide later that we want to go back and write a prequel that talks about what all happened there, we can. And then we'll have to worry about making it consistent with everything. But that's not something we need to worry about now. As I was thinking about what I would say during this video, I remembered I thought of Suzanne Collins with The Hunger Games, how she went back and wrote a prequel, Battle of Songbirds and Snakes, that talks about Coriolanus Snow's rise to power. I'm pretty sure she didn't plan that out while she was writing the original Hunger Games and thinking, okay, how do I fit everything in here? But after the fact, when she realized you wanted to tell that story, you go and you make sure that things are consistent with what you've already written. No need to make things harder on ourselves right now than it needs to be.
The same thing's true with people who write sagas. They don't necessarily plan the entire plot structure for every single novel.
Right.
They may not even know how many novels they're going to write. So yeah, there has to be some room for flexibility in details like that. I think my personal tendency is to go overboard on one side.
Right.
And I think you're good to point out that this is one of the areas that we don't need to spend the time answering.
Which will help us spend time on the things that we do need to answer, so we're not wasting our time or spending it on things that aren't as valuable.
Agree.
So that was what I had to share.
Okay.
Our question for you is, what is an example of an unanswered question that was done well or was done poorly? Whether a question that in a book that was left unanswered, that either you liked that it was left unanswered because it let you immerse yourself in the world and kind of think about the possibilities, or one that you didn't like because you felt it was too important and that they needed to answer that question for you to have closure. So either one or both of those, let us know down in the comments, and we will see you next week.